Good afternoon. My name is Michael Mack, and this is my book report video. The book I chose to read and review today is called Flow: The Psychology of Optimal Experience. I'll be making references back to the foundation of sports and exercise psychology, since there are parts that overlay. But before I start getting to the beans and meat, I would like to say I stutter, and also I take moments to pause in between what I'm saying to make sure I say it clearly and correctly. I'm also utilizing a notebook with my notes to make sure I make or hit every spot I'm supposed to and talk about all the important facts. We go start off with the easy thing first, rating this book. I say it's about 7 out of 10. Probably will fluctuate more on the 10 out of 10 scale if you're more interested into psychology. I was more interested in how to interpret what happens up here in my consciousness and how I interpret the actions in the world myself. So this book was very important for that, and also it was a good read. It wasn't filled with a lot of complex words. I had a reading impairment in high school and also have a speech impairment, so words is my weakest links. Reading is rough for me. But to continue on with the summary of the book, I would have to say this book was written by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. It took me a minute to pronounce that name, but he is a Hungarian American psychologist that introduced the flow theory back in the 1970s. The flow theory, as you can pull from the name of the book, is about a highly focused mental state. Which brings me up to my first quote, which was made by a chess player playing in a tournament. The concentration is like breathing. You never think of it. The roof could fall in, and if it missed you, you wouldn't be aware of it. And that kind of sets the atmosphere of what the flow we are referencing, talking about. It's a highly concentrated or focused mental state. Why is that important? For physical education and rec alike, when you are highly focused on the actions you are taking to where they become second nature or instinct, then you perform better, you do better in life, you usually have more enjoyment in the activities you're doing, and that pretty much is why Csikszentmihalyi was really going into this study in depth to see what do we have to understand, what we have to learn, and what we have to control to reach this maximum or best performance outcome. And the first thing is from a few chapters in the book of Flow. Talks about reasons why life is so hard, why no matter how better life gets, because if you compare our time in normal modern day society to back in the 1700s or 1600s, even the 1800s, it's a lot better now. We made way more technological advancements, medical advancements. People are living way longer, more money is involved, more education. Even though there's a lot of benefits now than it was then, researchers seen that people in the past had way more enjoyment and satisfaction and contentment in life than people now. And this book starts off by saying this world isn't meant for us. The more we try to control it, the more we try to take hold of it, we will just keep on finding more problems or a higher goal that we want to reach. So this world is very chaotic. This is the takeaway note. The fact that we exist in this world is a miracle. Our emotions and desires are chaotic. We see this one thing, we achieve it, then something else happens that we want to take that. So it's in our responsibility to learn skills, habits, and thought patterns so that when chaos happens, we have a process of understanding it and react to it through flowing through that process. That's what the process books talk about. If I flip through my notes, The book flows in a very chronological order. If you look at the first 2 chapters that's going over the simple things of discontentment, happiness, what are they, what's concentration, to the most enjoyable times and explaining why you enjoy those times, the condition of flow experience, which means you have to reach a high skill and a high challenge, which crossovers to the book of the Foundations of Sports and Psychologies when they mention what I can pronounce this word as Khmelnik and Stein flow model. Basically, the y-axis is high challenge, low challenge, and the y-axis is high skill, low skill. And basically, as you start off, you be in flow because you have very rudimentary behaviors, understanding, and concept of the activity. But as you start growing skill, you will have to grow challenge to get back into the flow. But if you don't grow either or, you either become anxious or bored. Which that was very interesting how I can apply this to my future career goals and whatnot. You can't be doing the same things you do in week 1 or week 2 in practice that you are doing in the season. You have to change it up. You can't do the same games. You have to make it more skilled and more challenging to where you're not only improving the athlete, but you're keeping the athlete engaged in what you're doing. But if you continue on, that was just one of the first crossovers, and first takeaway is world is very chaotic. Our emotions is very chaotic, and the goal of flow is to create a process of how we respond to what happens in nature. And then the flow state is not a linear type of line. It's on an axis. You have to respond to it either by increasing your skill or increasing the challenge. Another crossover is that a reason why flow is so hard to get in is because stress and anxiety are things that make life less enjoyable. One of the common terms that both books use is uncertainty. We don't understand exactly what all is happening at the same point of, let me rephrase it. We don't know everything. Your kids or students or participants won't know everything. If you want them to feel less stressed and less anxious, you have to prep them to not know anything. So get them into a mental state of acceptance and contentness to be able to say, okay, I practiced and did all these things, and no matter what happens forward, because let's try my best and do my best. And that's a common thing that you want to teach. It's not about the end point, it's about how you get there and what you want to do. Most people, similar to like that mountaineer I referenced in the first couple of minutes about concentration. He didn't look down at all in that rock climb. He says climb, nobody was forcing him, nobody was on his ass, nobody was pushing him to try to go to the next level. He was in a very difficult situation. He was already skilled. So when people get in this situation, they tend to become very tunnel vision, direct to the point, able to